Navigate the gauntlet of uncertainty the world throws at your business with SAP. Whether it's a tropical storm hitting your warehouse or a short supply of those little plastic twist ties, SAP can help you tackle those unexpected crushing setbacks with its AI-powered capabilities. To pivot to new suppliers, automate paperwork, and source the twist ties you need at the price you want, so your business can stay unstoppable. Learn more at sap.com/uncertainty.
Recently, we asked some people about sharing their New York Times accounts.
My name is Dana. I am a subscriber to the New York Times, but my husband isn't. And it would be really nice to be able to share a recipe or an article or compete with him in Wordle or Connections. Thank you.
Dana, we heard you. Introducing the New York Times Family Subscription. One subscription, up to 4 separate logins for anyone in your life. Find out more at nytimes.com/family.
Atheists, agnostics, long-haired weirdos, short-haired weirdos, vandals, hooligans.
The government, hug the government, love the government, hug the government, love the government, hug the government.
Welcome to The Politics Guys, a place for bipartisan, rational, and civil debate on American politics and policy. I'm Northern Kentucky University political scientist Michael Baranowski. I am once again joined by political scientist Michael Levy. We were also going to be joined by Sam Dewey, but Sam is, as I mentioned on the weekend show, MIA, and while we release these a few days apart, we actually record them at the same time, and so it's just going to be Michael and me, two political scientists named Michael. That's maybe a first for the show. I don't know, but anyway, Michael, I'm glad to have you back.
Good to see you again. It's only been a few minutes, but I missed you.
Yeah. So I'm proud that I got through the entire first episode, the weekend episode. I think I only called you Mike once, and it's just so ingrained in my mind, but I'm glad that I only slipped once. So anyway, it probably helped people keep us, separated anyway, Mike and Michael, but we probably...
Yeah, I didn't even notice.
There you see, it was there. There you go. All right. Well, why don't we get started then? And I thought we'd start with some FBI stuff, because this week, FBI Director, in this last week, FBI Director Kash Patel, he was involved in a pretty pugnacious exchange, or a number of them, with Senate Democrats in his hearing before the Judiciary Committee. The highlight, or maybe, I don't know, you might want to call it the low light, I guess, of this would be his exchange with Senator Adam Schiff of California. Schiff called Patel an internet troll, and then Patel called Schiff an utter coward, a political buffoon, and the biggest fraud to ever sit in the United States Senate. I'm sure there's a lot of competition for that particular one. I don't know that Schiff's anywhere close. But anyway, the half-day hearing came as not long, really, after Patel posted on X that Charlie Kirk's killer was in custody when the person that was initially held was not, in fact, the killer. And, more broadly than that, Patel has been criticized for being more interested in his social media presence than in running the FBI. There's one recently retired FBI agent said CBS News, "You can be a social media influence or you can be an FBI director, but you can't be both an influencer and a director." And since Patel took over as FBI director, thousands of agents have left the Bureau through either forced dismissals or voluntary departures, and multiple reports have described it as a dysfunctional and hyper-politicized place now, with Patel and his number 2, Deputy Director Dan Bongino, as out of their depth and really more concerned with their social media than their day-to-day operations of the Bureau. And last week now, 3 former senior Bureau officials filed suit against Patel and Attorney General Pam Bondi, alleging unlawful termination for political reasons, calling their firing part of a campaign of retribution for their failure to demonstrate sufficient political loyalty. They further allege that Director Patel deliberately chose to prioritize politicizing the FBI over protecting the American people. Now, FBI agents can only be removed for cause for the most part, and according to the lawsuit, only one of these agents was told why he was being fired, and that was for being overzealous in implementing COVID protocols. The other 2 agents were just simply told they were being summarily dismissed with no misconduct mentioned in their dismissal letters. And the agents say that one of the agents says that Patel actually told them that, "I've got to fire you. I know it's illegal, but my job's on the line because," as he allegedly put it, "the FBI tried to put the president in jail and he hasn't forgotten it." Now, both the Bureau and the DOJ have remained silent in response to the lawsuit, at least in the media, though Patel has sort of addressed the firings indirectly, saying that people have been removed, that they've been removed to restore integrity and to remove weaponization of the agency. And it's difficult to get solid numbers, but according to various sources, somewhere between 30 and 100 of the agents that have been involved in Trump-related investigations have been fired, forced out, or reassigned, and this is disproportionately among senior agents. So, Michael, what do you make about what's going on here with the FBI under Director Patel?
I think I need about 90 minutes
to
answer that question.
Yeah.
I mean, let's go back 2 years. During the Biden administration, there was a Pew poll that came out that showed that 37% of Republicans trusted the FBI. That's a pretty startling and terrifying number. It used to be the Democrats who didn't trust the FBI, and now we're forced into the position of defending the FBI. But then, you started the segment with the Adam Schiff, Kash Patel exchange. And as an American, that's just gross, both sides. Mm-hmm. And the performative theater that happens in these hearings from Democrats and Republicans doesn't get us anywhere. It's just made for sound bites, and it's not real oversight. But for Kash Patel himself, he's obviously in over his head. He looks clueless and he looks foolish sometimes. I mean, here it is, the head of the FBI in a hearing in front of Congress. And when a member of Congress brings up Dylan Roof, the neo-Nazi white supremacist who gunned down 9 black parishioners at a church in Charleston, South Carolina, he has no idea who this person is. And, he came into the FBI director's role with partisan credentials, no real managerial experience, and it shows. And he's performing for an audience of one, and he looks good doing so. But he's out live tweeting an investigation into the Charlie Kirk murder. He's having dinner while he should probably be on the ground. And is not only sad and disgusting what Kash Patel is bringing to the FBI, but it's also worrying in redirecting agents from the projects that they were working on to the pet projects of the Trump administration and what Kash Patel wants to go after, whether it's the number of agents who were put on the Jeffrey Epstein files or whatever, is that there's probably a lot of important criminal investigatory work that is not happening that we don't know about that might rear its head in 6 months or a year or two.
Yeah. And I think both the fact that the priorities have been shifted to whatever Donald Trump happens to want, but also the fact that so many of these, senior, very experienced people, when they leave, that brain drain cannot necessarily be, that can't be replicated. You can't fix that in a day, a month, or even, years, because these people have literally decades of experience. So you take away all these experienced people simply because they were assigned to investigate at the time, the former president, then you hobble an agency right from the get-go. So even if all their priorities were fine, that's still a problem. And so I think that's sort of a double whammy.
As a sports fan, I have to confess, sometimes the game gets kind of boring. That's when I unfold my Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7 and use multi-window viewing on its large screen. Boring game? I'm checking out my fantasy baseball league at the same time. Score still 1-0? I'm replying to emails in the other window, scoring points with the boss. Semifinals finally getting exciting? I'm buying tickets to the finals and booking my flights. Can your phone do that?
The new Galaxy Z Fold 7. Get yours at Samsung.com.
Mint is still $15 a month for premium wireless. And if you haven't made the switch yet, here are 15 reasons why you should. 1, it's $15 a month. 2, seriously, it's $15 a month. 3, no big contrast. 4, I use it. 5, my mom uses it. Are you playing me off? That's what's happening, right? Okay, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan. $15 per month equivalent required. New customer offer first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
It's probably a triple whammy, right?
Yeah,
because let's just say in 2028 that the Democrats come back to office. Let's assume that. I think it's going to be a rough race, no matter who the Democrats nominate. But what the Democrats have seen is the politicization of the FBI. And so they're going to look with great suspicion at many of the agents who have been hired. And so does the Democratic FBI head lead a purge of the newly hired folks? And do we get into a cycle of just hiring and firing FBI agents when they're supposed to be career and they're supposed to be nonpartisan? So I worry about not only what's happening now, but what the long-term implications are for this tit for tat. And that tit for tat is on everything. It's not just about the FBI. Do the Democrats start using agencies the way that the Trump administration has to go after opponents like Pulte, as I mentioned in the weekend show, going after Lisa Cook or Letitia James or Adam Schiff? Do the Democrats just start using it to go after all their opponents? It's not good.
Right. And then when
I would say that if it was a Democrat.
Then when you have things like the U.S. attorney who refused to prosecute James being essentially forced out. And so that just creates clearly the Trump administration has no interest in de-weaponizing the Justice Department. They have an interest in weaponizing it to go after opponents. And to me, maybe this is me speaking as an old guy, but I honestly don't even feel like an FBI director should have a social media presence and be tweeting and posting this kind of stuff. To me, if you're an FBI director and people know your name, that's probably a problem. I want you to be so far in the background that you should not be, in a sense, a public figure.
I couldn't agree with you more, Mike, that we've turned our administrations, and let's just say it's maybe supercharged under the Trump administration. These are podcast television personalities who've been plucked from that fame, whether it's Pete Hegseth or Kash Patel or others. And so they got to where they were based upon their social media, their celebrity status. And it's hard to give that up, especially when it's being modeled from the top. When Donald Trump is tweeting about everything, or truthing, about everything all the time. I mean, that's the signal he's sending. That's how you win with Donald Trump.
Yeah. And so essentially, all of these people are performing for an audience of one. And as long as you stay in his good graces, and I'm sure a big part of what Patel was doing at that hearing was essentially performing for Donald Trump. And that's the sort of thing you get not in democratic systems, but in authoritarian systems where you please the dear leader and you're fine no matter what else you do.
I was thinking about this in preparation for the show about a different topic, but I think it applies here the way that you're discussing it is, when we see those videos of Kim Jong-un and the people behind him, and they're all seemingly competing against one another to clap the loudest and clap the hardest, or to cry the most. And it's sort of reminiscent, right, of Trump's cabinet meetings and who can flatter him the most or who can perform for him the best on television. And it's really alarming. And we're old enough to remember these, the Trent Lotts or the Jeff Flakes, which is not that too much in the recent past, and how we long for them because, we may have disagreed with them on issues and vehemently on issues. They weren't embarrassing. They made their points that we disagreed on. They did it in a civil way. And that's what the FBI director should be doing. Shouldn't be engaging in sparring contests with the heads of committees or the ranking member of committees or tweeting out all of the time. It shows how far we've fallen as a country. And unfortunately, I don't see it getting any better. And I worry that Democrats are learning the lessons of how to be successful, and hopefully they're not learning the wrong lessons.
Well, see, to me,
but Newsom seems to be learning those lessons.
Exactly, because to me, when I see what Governor Newsom is doing, I think there are two schools of thought. One is that, he's just this is just sort of like an onion style sort of mocking type of thing. But it's not really who he is or who he would be. But I don't know, that sort of thing can become, I think, can kind of get into your head in a certain way. And so I worry about that.
Yeah, I get criticized by my friends on the left as they oftentimes call me complacent because I'm looking for common ground or trying to have civil discussions. And I think the appetite on the left is when they go low, we go even lower. Yeah. And they just want to fight back and they want to see their politicians and their leaders fighting back. And Newsom is showing that. But how long can Newsom keep it up? I mean, that the Twitter account that he has, as a lefty, it's funny. But after 6 months, a year, is it still funny or is it just sad?
Yeah, and to me, it's almost at that point already where it just I don't find much in it. But again, I don't know who the audience is for this sort of thing exactly, and that to me is what. And again, just so much of this is just so deeply performative in such a negative type of way, and so it just becomes a kind of a downward spiral, I suppose. But And I guess also, I recall when President Trump was making some of these initial nominations to various agencies, there was a line of thinking saying, well, okay, he clearly just finds people who agrees with him very loudly and picks them for these positions regardless of their qualifications. And okay, but that might be fine as long as the number two person, the day-to-day operations person, is somebody who knows what they're doing. So that way it's maybe even better because you have the public face, but then you have the sort of solid, dependable, knowledgeable, experienced number two who's actually running stuff. But in the FBI, your number two is arguably even more in the wrong direction than Patel would be.
Yeah. I mean, in the first Trump administration, we would have heard terms about adult supervision, that Trump was making some nominations of people who may have disagreed with him and may have been that saucer to dampen the heat of Trump's rhetoric. But even in this second administration, the folks like that who he has hired, and I'll take one in particular, Marco Rubio, he's been a disappointment, not just for the left, but I hope that he's a disappointment for the right, because the things that he really believes in, he doesn't speak out on. He doesn't say. During the Zelensky showdown in the Oval Office, he just sat there looking sad. And you're right. Like, the day-to-day operations has to be run by competent people, but they're not looking for the best and the brightest. It almost seems like, and I know I'll get in trouble for this, but the worst and the dimmest. And these are serious organizations, our Defense Department, or we want to call it the War Department, the FBI. These are agencies, organizations that keep us safe. And I worry about the politicization of these agencies and what the long-term impacts might be.
Yeah.
And to take it a step further, and I know this goes back to the campaign, or maybe it was after the campaign, I don't remember. But when Trump went to, I think it was North Carolina, and he has the military behind him, and they found, and didn't have to go, but it would be supporters, and they were like laughing at Joe Biden and things like that. I worry also about the politicization of the military. And what does that mean long term if we're putting these kids in the street and they see the American public or the left as enemies? It's a pretty scary time, and I am very worried.
We hope you enjoyed this preview of our supporters exclusive midweek show. If you'd like to hear the rest of the episode, we hope you'll consider becoming a supporter. Supporters get ad-free access to all of our shows, membership in our Politics Guys Discord group where you can join in on the conversation, and other benefits at different levels of support. To become a supporter, go to patreon.com/politicsguys. You can also support us through Venmo or @politicsguys, or through PayPal. You'll find all of our support links in the show notes, as well as at politicsguys.com/support. And if you'd like to get the midweek show, but you're not in a position to become a financial supporter, that's not a problem. Just send me an email at mike@politicsguys.com, and I'll be happy to get that set up for you.
This podcast is part of the Democracy Group,